Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news for you out of Dorney Park. Yes, we've been waiting for this one this morning at 5 a.m. my time, 6 a.m. their time, 6 a.m. your time. They announced the brand new dive roller coaster made by B&M. So no surprises there, really. We had some theories. Maybe it could have been something else, but good money was on a dive coaster, and that indeed it was. Called Iron Menace. I'm getting my Steel and Wickeds and everything because it's getting very confusing. You thought having 12 different Batman clones and 12 different Batman rides and them all being different ride types was confusing. Try and keep straight the Steels and the Twisteds and the Wickeds and the Irons now. It's becoming quite the chore, to be honest with you. So Iron Menace announced for Dorney Park. So right off the bat, we kind of nailed the theme of this. We didn't have the name exactly, but we nailed the theme. We kind of explained on the last show, the Hiram McTavish and the old steel factory, and you brought in Bethlehem Steel. And it's funny in
the war, yeah. It brought up Bethlehem Steel.
It's like you had the PR release yesterday, but we didn't.
No. We're not ruining anybody's surprise.
No. So,
and good gravy, you forgot about Kings Island.
Oh, Kings Island also announced. It seems to be the year of the family boomerangs. This one's going to Kings Island. Snoopy's Soapbox Racers, I believe it's called off the top of my head. If I recall.
Sounds correct, yeah.
So a simple family boomerang, sit down, a lot like Good Gravy. It's not this. Is it the same exact layout?
I think so. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we won't say anything. Also, though, Kings Island is adding a nice little playground area to their wonderful planet Snoopy over there as well. So that should be good. So let's talk about Iron Menace a little bit and what's going on here. So why don't you go through? You kind of nailed the layout too, to be honest with you. Why don't you go through what's going on there?
Yeah, if you want to put my doodle back up. You got the colors. You got your smoky gray supports and your molten iron orange.
Like that's weird because when I was thinking about when we were doing the show, I'm like, this is gonna look a lot like Firebird over at Six Flags America, and that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah. So yeah, we knew it was going to be a pretty short layout. It looks like it follows the path that we predicted. It does have a state record beating title of being the dive coaster in the steepest coaster in Pennsylvania. So it beat Fahrenheit by 2 degrees. But I'm expecting that drop to be good, because remember, that was the thing that I was like, this is the payout for the whole ride, is we're going to get a good first drop out of this. We're going to go up into an Immelman. We're going to have a 0G roll over the station. There's an incline loop, which is also featured on my doodle. And then there's kind of like a section that goes up. It'll be a corkscrew, and then it'll do kind of like a half helix and then back around to the brake run. So it does kind of follow that path. It gives you 4 good elements. It says 7 across trains. I'm not sure if I've ever seen 7 across trains.
They've done so they've been doing the smaller trains on some rides. I don't recall.
I feel like there's 6s or 8s though.
Were they? I thought they were.
Am I wrong? I guess I'm wrong. I don't know. I feel like 7 struck me when I saw that, but don't go looking it up. It's fine.
I'm going to now. Because I don't know if Diabolical did the short. So the other thing to note, to Danny Miller's dismay, is they are using the vest restraints that he's been. So Emperor uses 6 across trains. And they are using the vest restraints. That he's a big fan of the hard restraints.
I agree with him on the hard restraints, but I just assume that everything's getting the vest restraints from now on.
Yeah, I would think. I think you get more out of it. You can get Diabolical use 7 across trains. So
that must be the new model. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely. So Emperor was 6 across, Diabolical 7 across. Although the rendering, 7.
Now you got a true center of that train too.
Yeah. So I think that's going to add something to it. A lot of people have said that those trains are pretty nice. So with the vest, I think that's going to help. Um, you know,
Station looks pretty cool in the rendering. Like a big factory. It's going to have a big smokestack. It looks like on the one side of it, on the kind of like the midway side of it.
yeah.
Uh,
So they themed out the station a little, like as much as you can expect. They also, the other thing a lot of people saying is how the Zephyr train is going to go
yeah,
through like the maintenance track, the transfer track, the storage track for the if they're not using one of the trains or whatever, or maintaining one of the trains. So it's actually going to go through that building. So that's going to be kind of cool too.
and
Um,
and if you get lucky, you might get a pretty close interaction between the Zephyr and this ride.
oh yeah, this like there's a few moments on this ride that it's going to be going right past you, especially by that corkscrew.
Mhm.
It could, in theory, I don't know the angle of that tilted loop there. Kind of go right over you. It's going to be right there, that's for sure. And then once again on the barrel roll coming out of that station area, you could have a chance for a few good interactions with the Zephyr. So that might be a cool little photo op. Um,
Absolutely.
Opportunity. The one thing that is glaring on this rendering, though, Jeff,
Yeah.
is
Oh, I have to say it because Brian from Motown, our friend, told me that I would be wrong. So he wanted me to say that Brian said there would be no theming on the ride.
well, it does follow suit with what Cedar Fair has done. We talked about Valraven. We said how much better Valraven might have been if they had a few theming elements. We know that the European ones do. Cedar Fair has never really gotten into the near miss thing. We talked about X Flight a lot at Great America. Um, but I will throw this out there. There is still some hope, maybe. You have a theory and I have a theory. So why don't you
So,
do your theory
all
first?
right. So I'm just gonna keep sticking with the plans because the plans are, I feel like a little are something that they submitted. It was obviously something they had thought about at least. Maybe there was a budget cut, but there does show three areas around the ride track that are labeled concrete pads for theming. In the like highly stylized rendering, when it gets up to the top of the drop and it's on the holding brake, you can see there's like a whole bunch of shit at the bottom of the drop. There's like I-beams and like a container, and at the very bottom of the drop, there's a giant like molten ore kind of glowing area, which is exactly where one of those pads is supposed to be. So there's maybe going to be some lighting or something there, or uh, or maybe it simply got cut where it wasn't possible to show it in No Limits. The other areas are not in that stylized rendering, but they're not on the rendering that they shared as a picture of the ride, and they are definitely not on the POV and off-ride footage.
Well, and I'll throw this out from my knowledge of being in the Ride Warrior Club, anyone who was in that at Cedar Point, they kind of explained one year how things get done at Cedar Fair. And it might not be like this anymore. I don't know. This was years ago. This is probably 5, 6 years ago already at this point. So things change, new regimes do different things differently. And what they used to do is they used to announce all their rides in August. They've always done that. They used to go through, budget everything out. And then in December, any extra money that's still there, or if things have gone over budget or under budget, they kind of have a much better idea in December of what's happening because you've already probably started construction. You've already, partly into it. You know what the prices are with the current markets and all that. And supposedly there's a big powwow that happens. So all the extra money for things like like maintenance to like different shops or to stores or to add more theming elements into the park or to redo this, that, or the other, or maybe even to add more oomph onto rides that are already there. So like a good example might be fixing the tunnel on Maverick and putting lights back into it. Like that's something that's not decided in August. That's going to be decided further on down the road when they figure out how much money is actually being spent and allocated. So there is still a hope. And I like at some point we're going to need to see concrete poured too. So
Sure.
you're probably going to find this out more quicker than others. Um, maybe in that December meeting, maybe they get allocated a few more bucks. I don't know if you would have big elements added that the train would actually go through, like off the first drop, because that seems like a major element to me that you'd have to have ride clearances and all this other stuff. But just throwing stuff around, like some of those buckets in the pictures remind me of the old disaster transport buckets, the big steamers that they had at Cedar Point, all over the place, and are using in the different haunts or whatever. So stuff like that I could see be thrown around, maybe to add a little bit of theme. But I don't know if we're gonna get anything major that you go through, right? Like at this
I think,
point.
yeah, I think that's probably not what it is. Maybe some set pieces based on that small glimpse in the rendering. Also on the artwork, there's like boulders strewn around in those areas. So like that's not really what the ground looks like there. It's like a manicured mowed lawn
Yeah.
uh right now. So like so I don't know if it's just like a texture that like an artist decided to put on it, or if it was meant to kind of like signify there will be things here, and
And
we'll just like find out later that it's like very small props, but whatever.
and at the end of the day, too, it could just be they suspect that the construction vehicles are going to tear up that lawn anyway, and they have no
Yeah.
intention of actually replanting it. So, might as well just throw boulders around and call it a day, right?
Well, Dorney is a very environmentally friendly park, so like, they don't want to waste money irrigating that lawn there. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no reason to do that. So,
Water's valuable. Yeah.
so, I. I think, and here's the other thing I want to say is I was up at 5 a.m.
I know.
I was talking to you at 5 a.m. this morning. And I was reading all the comments on both Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. I don't give a shit. So on Twitter and on Instagram. And I think there was like probably like a dozen or so comments on Twitter at that point, probably a lot more on Instagram, over 50 or so. And overwhelmingly, not a single negative comment across the board, from longtime fans that you could tell, from GP members that were just coming to it. Every single comment I read was overwhelming positive. I think Dorney Park, the people who go there, and a lot of people saying that they're going to go back now, were just upset that they haven't added anything in decades.
Count
And
me in. Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah.
and this is like reinvigorating this fan base a little bit. And I'm like, oh, people are gonna crap all over this, and because it's another dive coaster. Not a single person had a single negative thing to say. So this looks like a grand slam win to me for the park. It looks.
I did see like a couple of enthusiasts when they were doing the teaser campaign, like, please don't let it be a dive.
Yeah.
And those same people seem to be happy today. So,
Well, and there's the people lining up to get media invites too. So there's also that. But
okay.
but I'm talking. You can tell real quick who who are just every normal day pass holders and fans and stuff. And I would say invariably. And I didn't look later on in the day. Things might have changed at 8 o'clock in the morning. But the people who were staying up in the morning to find this information out seem to be overwhelmingly happy with it. And I'm pretty happy with it too. It's I've heard nothing but good things about these smaller dive coasters. The big dive coasters, I think, take up a whole lot of land. They take up and then with that second dive, they take up even more land and kind of slow down the whole pace of the ride, and just slow everything down, which is whatever. But I don't think that second dive adds a whole lot to the overall thing. So I would rather not slow down at that point and do a second dive. I'd rather just go through more elements. But this isn't going to have that problem. You're going to go full tilt all the way through. I think it's going to be a fun ride. People say Baron 1898, which I think is the closest comparison you can make here. So if you don't know what Baron 1898 is, go look it up. It's at Efteling. People have said great things about that ride, have really high remarks about that dive coaster. And I think this is going to add in something to this park that they need. That they need another top tier roller coaster. I think some of their roller coasters are a little bit dated. Steel Force, Talon, Hydra. There's not a ride that I rank in my top 50 at Dorney Park, to be honest with you.
Talon might make it. I do like the inverts.
Yeah, it's not my top 50 though. I like the inverse, and there are plenty of inverts that are better than Talon. And the one is right behind me. And the other one is the one Danny Miller hates is Patriot at Worlds of Fun is a much better invert in my opinion. But
it's much better than Worlds of Fun.
Yeah.
Patriot,
yeah. So, but Danny Miller, Mr. Dorney Park, maybe now here's the other thing. If we do get the privilege of going to the media day, is Danny Miller going to go and reprise his role as Mr. Dorney Park? Because he was on that America's roller coaster.
Hey, he's gotta
as the tour guide to Dorney Park. Like I feel like
I'm pretty sure I visited once, and he was the ride up on Possessed.
Yeah, well, he did Talent. He might have done Possessed. I don't know. I don't listen to him when he talks normally, as you might have noticed on the shows.
So can we talk about the area around it? Because it looks like they're adding like a nice little paver plaza so you can watch the dive, which is something GP and everybody likes to do.
Yeah, so like they've added that. So they also maintain the haunt back there. So you can kind of see, if you remember back on the overall rendering, they have the little bathroom thing there. They have the haunt. They did take two of the buildings out behind the haunt to add in the queue. And then the building, it could still, no, it's not there. It's not there in the rendering.
But they might leave it out of the rendering because it's not.
Yeah, something like that. They might just leave out. You can kind of see that they're kind of repaving everything. They're leaving the Woodstock lighters there. I don't know how that fits in, but
I don't. Maybe they call them the Cedar Creek Flyers, but maybe we should expect the Cedar Creek Flyers to get a new name. They might try to make it a little more of an area. Steel Force and Iron. I want to say Vengeance, but that's wrong. What is it?
Steel Vengeance, Steel Force, Iron Menace.
Iron Menace. All right, Steel Force and Iron Menace.
Real confusing.
Are pretty close to each other. There is because now with Rita's gone, there's the path is like that whole area looks like it'll be like much more open.
Yeah, so now we don't know. There's no discussion of what's going to happen with the haunt. Previously it was the Enigma haunt, which is kind of like a very open-ended thing. I've never been to the Dorney Park haunt. I know Danny has. It's kind of like one of those things where it's probably they like to redo haunts left and right in Cedar Fair, so that's not like a big thing, and I could totally see it. I don't think that's going to happen for this year. I also don't think this. So they're closing the Zephyr for sure, but they haven't said anything about the Cedar Creek Flyers, and I don't know if that haunt's going to be open this year either. Because you would think this whole area would be closed off, right?
It's possible.
Like if they're closing Zephyr, like to me, that means that they're planning on doing construction in that area during the season, during haunt season. So
they do have the maintenance road. I mean, I think that they could get work done, especially light work done without interfering with the operations all that much. I expect that we'll hear something about that haunt come September or October.
Yeah, that's when we usually get some ideas about what haunts are.
There was talk that the haunt and the ride would have some synergy, so that's why I'm thinking maybe the Cedar Creek Flyers might get a name change, that there might be a little bit more to the overall area. They didn't show off the ride sign, they didn't show off like that kind of like on the ground stuff. So there might be some stuff that they want to reveal.
Well, and keep in mind, Twisted Timbers has that weird entrance with
we didn't know any of that until we showed up.
Exactly. So a lot of that stuff, probably happens at that December meeting. Where's how much can we actually put into this? And that kind of stuff comes together pretty quickly. So, overall, I would say this is a huge win for Dorney Park, right? That I haven't seen many negative people talking about this. It's another coaster that they desperately need to revitalize some of that fan base. And it looks like it's going to be a solid ride, and it might be one of the best dive coasters in America. for all we know at this point.
And it's going to look cool. It's going to be right at the entrance. I bet you're going to be able to see it from the highway because you could definitely see like Possessed from the highway.
Yeah.
So it's going to have like a really good visual impact for the whole park.
So you said you're going to Dorney, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go. We're hitting the road next week. We're gonna go to Dollywood and we're gonna go Dorney on the way home. And since they started a sale, we're actually thinking we might get season passes because I'm gonna want to go back next year to ride the dive coaster anyway.
Well, that's the thing is you can, well, right now with the gold passes, you can get the rest of this year for free and then
Yep.
jump into that new passport system and go to all the parks for an extra $80 or whatever. So, and then some of the parks, depending on where you get your gold pass at, they're actually offering 5 free fast lanes for.
Already is not. I saw that, but it was like I think I feel like Carowinds is doing it, Kings Dominion is doing it.
Kings Island and Worlds of Fun are doing it too.
Okay,
Cedar
yeah,
Point
yeah.
never does it.
So Cedar Point and Dorney are having major investments. They don't want to give out free fast lanes to these rides.
Yeah, but that would be for the end of this year too. So those is you can't use them next year. You have to use them.
Oh, okay. All right.
This year. So because usually Worlds of Fun used to give out a whole wristband for like one of the days, but now they bumped it back to 5 passes or whatever, which is whatever. But yeah, check to see if your park's doing that because that's also something to look into. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna go to Dorney too next year. I think I might. I think there's some plans in the works. And maybe be hitting it up. Yeah, next year, next summer, midsummer, I'm thinking. So we'll see what happens. So as always, another big announcement off the board. This one, I think we came very close on everything here. I'm very happy with what we predicted over the last few shows. And we got some Six Flags ones coming up soon too. We have some Fiesta Texas has thrown their hat in the ring. I got no idea what's going on there still.
Over Georgia?
Over Georgia seems like a single rail. It's even money there, I think.
And they just had their earnings call and they said CapEx next year is going into rides.
Yeah, but they're also cutting a whole lot of rides too. So a lot of people are talking.
They're looking to get rid of more junkers. I mean, they did that this year,
Which I'm not against. Like at some point, let's start ditching the ninjas of the world. Like we need to, like there's no reason to be running this stuff anymore. To give people concussions. And then Great Adventure has thrown their hat into the ring, I believe, as well.
I kept hearing rumor like a month ago that they were going to get something in the back by Medusa, which kind of like it kind of goes along with the strategy of the GM where he said he was going to hit each area and really kind of like revitalize each area. So they did the waterfront, they did that Metropolis area, and they just rethemed Bizarro back to Medusa. So something else back there. And the log flume is getting revitalized because that thing was falling apart apparently.
Okay, well, so it looks like Six Flags will be the next ones on the docket here to see if we can get any good announcements. And then Great America threw their hat into the ring too all of a sudden just today. They said
Silver Dollar City's doing something next week.
Silver Dollar City too. So we still got some on the board here. And there's not a whole lot to go off of for most of them that we haven't already told you right now. So I don't know if their major teaser campaigns start. And if they do, we'll be sure to talk about it. And then once those announcements come out, we'll be sure to talk about those as well. So exciting times here in August, always, every single year. So as always, I am Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
I'm Jeff Goodman from Long Island, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Good night.